listening to Billy and the Bird.
Welcome to Billy and the Bird!
Ow!
God, I was really expecting so much more from you there, Kyle. That did not
Ow!
There we go, that's what I'm talking about. Get excited. Guys, before we start tonight's podcast, let's have a brief moment of silence for some of the fallen warriors over the past weekend. Delaney Walker, Greg Olson, Doug Baldwin. Let's have a moment of silence for those guys. Okay, and we're back.
Alright, whatever it is.
Oh, keep going. You almost put me to sleep. So let's start with the matchups tonight, y'all.
Yay.
Yay. You can tell Kyle's excited as always. Let's start off with VJ versus Utaro. Anything to mention, Boudreaux? Anything you see?
Poor Utaro starting that Saints defense. Not worth it.
That was most people's start of the week, and yeah, it blew up big. Fucking Fitzmagic destroying. Yeah, but I think the big news of this matchup, besides Utaro getting destroyed, is that Greg Olson obviously down with the broken foot.
Same damn foot.
Bad news for Utaro all around on that sense. Did have a decent performance from his bench. Do you see Austin Eckler ever becoming a startable fantasy asset?
That was crazy. No, I think it's just one of those things. He's the change of pace back, the third down kind of back. And if I'm not mistaken, they were trailing most of the game, correct?
Yeah. They started off against the touchdown.
Yeah, so I think that's more of just a handcuff. But yeah, for now, hold on to him because you never know. Melvin Gordon's not exactly the model of health.
VJ got great production from most of his starting roles, exception of his tight end there. Are y'all surprised by Jimmy Graham's output?
No. I mean, Jimmy was touchdown line last year, and yeah, it looks like Rodgers never, except for since what's his name back 4 or 5 years ago, he hasn't really done anything with his tight end. So
yeah, there's one
I mean, there'll be better days ahead, but I don't see it being.
I agree with you, and we'll come back to this later. But I feel like Green Bay and specifically Rodgers has been one of the least reliant offenses in quarterback position on the tight end. It's just something they don't feature very often. We'll see if that trend changes with having Jimmy Graham, but so far it doesn't look like it will. Otherwise, not a lot of problems for VJ. A couple of good things he gets to look forward to. Good win for him. Matchup number 2 we'll talk about tonight. Let's go ahead with...
Let's go Cecil Gator Boys.
Oh, man.
Cecil
the
Gator
shit
Boys.
matchup
Great
of the
idea.
week. This game was grindy. It was like 50 to 50 at one point. It was amazing.
I'm pretty sure a few teams outscored this entire matchup. Yeah, this was this is just gross. I don't think there's a good game on here, except I guess maybe Brandon Cooks. But
Andrew Luck.
let's see.
I don't know if y'all...
Big news, I guess, would say Andrew Luck looked solid in his first game back in 2 years now. That's a good win for Cecil.
I mean,
Yeah, Cecil
that's
lost.
a win for him, but the rest of his bench isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. LaShawn McCoy and the Buffalo Bills got absolutely destroyed. Do y'all see the Buffalo Bills ever getting ahead in a game and being able to fully utilize Shady?
I think that you're gonna have 1 or 2 games where it's one of those slogs in the snow in Buffalo, where it's one of those 14-7 kind of games for the majority of the contest, and it's just a slugfest where maybe LaShawn McCoy can do something, but yeah, for the most part, it's not gonna be a fun year.
Man, the Gator Boys, I don't know if y'all happen to see their post on the GroupMe, but winning the game without scoring a single touchdown. Has it been done before?
I've not done the math.
I don't think they did. The Ravens defense score a touchdown? No, they didn't. They don't have a single touchdown. That's spectacular.
Ambitious.
My key point of this matchup is I really wish I would have drafted Cecil in my division because, God, is his team
That's
horrible.
your own fault. You could have had him. You let him go.
I know.
I don't think it's I think it's underperforming. I think he's only got 1 or 2 holes. Those are bad holes. LaShawn McCoy, and basically he's got no running backs. But besides that, he's got an okay team. I think he'll still be around.
He's
500.
really probable. He's got a real questionable mark on the flex because Nick Chubb is not where you want to be put.
He's not a starter. That was
Who else is he
very
going to put
odd
in though?
choice. C.J. Anderson.
Not much better apparently.
Not much better, but it's better than. I'd rather the backup on the Panthers than the backup on the Cleveland.
Yeah, it's like that old quiz where you'd rather swim through a pool of shit or swim through a pool of vomit.
Why does he have Amir Abdul on his team? He wasn't even. He's the 4th running back.
He's got name recognition. He knows who that is. That's why.
All right, Boudreaux, vomit or diarrhea? Pool.
Isn't
What are you swimming through?
Vomit. because it's not out the ass.
Okay, so he chose.
Not out the ass.
Yeah, got it. Moving on to matchup number 3, Joseph versus Andre. Looks like Andre squeaked by with a 10-point win. Good performance, 91.8. What you see, Boudreaux? Anything?
This was a fun game. It came down to Monday night, and sealed the deal with that nice pick six by the Rams. It was just fun to watch. Lions defense just completely sucked it up.
I think it's if you're gonna lose a tight end, this is a good league to do it in because our tight end depth is so abundant on waivers. It's a good I mean Joe lost Delaney, but I'm sure he'll be able to replace him very easily. Especially
A counter argument to that was there are a lot of people who are looking for tight ends.
No, I was being facetious.
Oh yeah,
Delaney hurts. That was a 5th round pick for him.
Yeah, something like that. Tight ends went early as usual, and
I heard he came off the field in an air cast with it's like
he broke and dislocated the ankle. He's probably retiring. He's not coming back from that.
Delaney Walker, I'd like to thank you for a great 2017 season, and also thank you for holding off until I was no longer an owner of yours. Appreciate that if you're listening.
Besides that, yeah, Joe Mixon, there was some indecision on whether Joe Mixon was going to be worth his second-round pedigree, and so far, so good.
Yeah, agreed. Good performance.
Buffalo.
Anything for Buffalo.
Joe wants to win, though. I don't think Joe Mixon's going to score 20 every damn time. And Russell Wilson keeps bailing him out.
No, but that's still what you want to see. He's going to get vultured by Gio here and there, but he's still that's what you want to see is that he was productive. The only other news here I think is Devonta Freeman banged up again right off the bat, and that's not what you want to see out of your first round pick.
But I mean, you knew that when you drafted him. He's always got has he ever played a full season?
Yeah, but he's got concussion issues, and he's already he's hurt again. I think he was hurt during the preseason.
News says he's likely to be good to go for Sunday's game, so perhaps it won't be a lingering issue.
I think one thing Langton was talking about Kenny Stills earlier. I thought the best part about this game was watching Joe hate the first Kenny Stills touchdown. Then the game gets delayed for like 4 hours, and then he has to sit and watch the second Kenny Stills touchdown.
It was an impressive outing for Kenny Stills, a player I thought lasted a little too long in the draft. Andre made a good pick by picking him up.
It worked in week 1.
Moving on to matchup number 4. Let's go ahead and talk about you, Boudreaux. What a performance, man.
I thought it was over after that 12 o'clock. I thought it was over after I saw Michael Thomas get that, what should have been a touchdown, but apparently they called it short.
Yeah. I mean, Arbob and Ibby put up a fight, man. They put up some numbers and you just didn't give a single shit. Tyreek Hill scoring 35. You got what you wanted out of Gurley and Goff, and then you got bonus out of Jared Cook. What a tight end, man. He looked like an absolute monster if anyone watched that Monday night game. What a beast.
Jared Cook's been one of those players that people have been saying, oh, this is his breakout year for about 7 or 8 years now, and it looks like it's finally starting to come to fruition.
Yeah, which is what I was saying about Green Bay. They just don't use the tight end, and here it's showing. Jared Cook's an animal, and they just, it's not part of their game plan.
I think he could be just a week 1 warrior. You never know. Week 1 is weird. People score. Look at Ryan Fitzpatrick. When is Ryan Fitzpatrick ever doing that shit ever again?
I still think that's what you want to see, though, is that he was Carr's check down guy, and that right now there's really no other reliable option receiving on that team. And Mark Cooper's been hot diarrhea.
Yeah, I kind of want to rain on your parade a little bit, Boudreaux. Let's talk about Alex Collins and the Baltimore Ravens being up what might as well be 1 million points against the Buffalo Bills, and despite that, Alex Collins only getting 7 touches.
He got the early touchdown, and then they had back-to-back turnovers, and then they were up by a shitload, and apparently they took him out. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He did have 1 catch, so 8 touches total. Maybe it was because they were so far ahead, but I'd be afraid that he was an early draft pick, if I am not mistaken. 3rd round, if I had to guess.
Yes.
I like Kenneth Dixon, Collins' backup, but he's not particularly durable. I think Collins is going to probably have some bad weeks like this throughout the year, but he'll still there's really no one to challenge his work, I don't think.
I disagree with you. I think what we're seeing here is the start of a complete backfield by committee, and I think it's really bad news for Alex Collins owners. The good news for Boudreaux, he's got plenty of things to make up for it.
Corey Davis, target monster. 18 targets or something like that, wasn't it?
13.
13 targets.
Yeah.
And then you always you're sitting on Wentz, so with all these QB injuries, that's a positive once he eventually comes back. He's not coming back till October, I believe.
Goff's fine till then.
Yeah.
Does Arbob have a quarterback?
Matty Ice.
Yeah, that defense took a lot of hits. I don't know if you saw Debo Jones on IR along with Keanu Neal, their two best defensive players. I usually don't like the notion of chasing points equals good quarterback production, but he'll bounce back a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be a strong QB1 this year.
Yeah, and same can be said about Derek Carr. I just didn't. If you watch the game, if you watch the performance, it's like yes, they're there, they can score points, but up against a good defense, I'm not trusting either of those guys.
Yeah, Carr. I think Carr's kind of proven to be a mediocre at best QB. I mean, he only had the one good year where he was super efficient and had tons of touchdowns, but in general, he's only had that one good year.
He has Brandon Marshall, who might since Baldwin went down, that's a big upside.
I think Alfred Morris will have better days. That was a tough defense, and he fumbled twice, I believe.
Yeah.
He'll have better days. So I think Alfred Morris is still something that's worthwhile holding on to.
Billy and the Bird will be right back after this commercial break.
This week's episode of Billy and the Bird's been brought to you by Buyer's Remorse. Buyer's Remorse, because fuck you, Le'Veon.
And welcome back to Billy and the Bird. That was
Getting better every time.
I wasted it, Kyle. I wanted to do a better comeback, and you nailed it on that screen. We're just gonna keep that. That sounds good. Moving on to matchup number 5. No, we did that one already too. Let's do Kelvin versus Michael Migliori.
This one also came down to Monday night.
Travis Kelce, 6 yards when his team scored 38 points. Is that going to be something you think will continue?
I think it's week 1, and we still have no idea. Fucking Tyreek Hill scored on a gadget play. Like, how often do you see that?
Scored on 2 gadget plays.
Exactly.
I don't know. A lot of Kelsey's value was that Alex Smith was the check down king. We'll have to see. We don't know enough about Mahomes yet to see how he's going to, distribute that to those targets. But they're definitely looking like they're going to be a different offense this year, especially with Kareem Hunt also not performing last week. See, my big note from this is obviously Kelvin's in trouble with that Le'Veon Bell probably not reporting for the whole year, or at least until the last 6 weeks of the season.
That's becoming more and more likely.
Oh yeah, I think that's the way it's going to go.
Gotta draft Connor in that situation. But
yeah, that was a big mistake.
Also lost Jeremy Hill.
Besides that, Kelvin's team's not looking terrible. I mean, like I said, I wasn't a Deshaun Watson fan, but I mean, besides the rest of his teams did okay, except for Njoku. But I mean, tight end.
I mean, he's got Ebron if he wants to really swap that out.
Yeah,
but once again, week 1, it's a crapshoot.
I think Equanimeous St. Brown's not worth the meme anymore. I think you can cut him and try to get someone who's actually worthwhile on your team.
I don't know.
Someone with a
could
shorter
be his
name.
mascot. Could be like his good luck charm. As long as he's on his team, he can't lose. Who knows?
He still came in with a win.
Kelvin does like his good luck charms. If I'm Kelvin, I'm telling myself, hey, Le'Veon Bell is going to be out until week 10 perhaps, but at least he'll be there for the playoffs. If I've got a good record, I'm holding on to him and ignoring the fact that I don't have for those 2 weeks. If I start off 3-1, 3-4, I'm looking for trade value just to try to make the playoffs. So we'll look to see how he handles that situation.
Looking at Miggs, I think Cam Newton still had a pretty good game, but his O-line is just getting worse and worse and taking more and more injuries to his weapons. It's not a great situation. Amari Cooper just continuing his terrible year from last year. And Crowder also not helping him much. Miggs is going to need some help from someone because he's not looking good right now.
And his backup wide receivers aren't great either. Chris Godwin did score 10 points, but if your team scores 48 points and lights up the Saints defense like Tampa Bay did, and that receiver still only got 10 points, which is going to be his best game of the year, I think that's a drop-worthy player there. The Chargers were losing the entire game, and Tyrell Williams only scored 7 points.
Just a touchdown, yeah.
He's got to find a wide receiver somewhere. He's got 3 running backs on the bench that could have some value, but I don't see much in wide receivers.
He played the Mark Ingram game, and it's gonna cost him in the first few weeks.
Well, I think there's nothing wrong with getting Ingram, but then you're going to need to take some, more boring, safe production kind of players later in the draft, and he just kind of took a bunch of gambles, and right now he needs some production, not gambles.
Moving on to the next matchup, Reed Ragoof putting the beat down on the Bird. That sounds about right. Let's talk a little bit about the matchup as well. Let's see, Doug Baldwin going down early in the game, coming with 0 points. That's a big problem.
Yeah, that hurts. He's not looking like he's going to be back till probably week 8, unless I'm lucky. But yeah, he's still. I'm losing my 3rd round pick for a majority of the year. But I think the worst news is obviously Aaron Rodgers taking that hit to the knee, and who knows what that's going to end up being.
There was a lot of us watching how fantasy was going and seeing that you already had Doug Baldwin out, seeing Aaron Rodgers on the floor. It's like, is this the end of Kyle's fantasy season? Luckily, he came back, put together a decent game for you. Hopefully, you can salvage a couple of wins until you get your team healthy. But, man, was that close to being just like a terrible year for you, man.
Yeah, I almost got one-shotted
No
week
one
1 like you did last year.
No one's safe from injuries.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, my 2017 season. Rest in peace.
On the read end, Drew Brees showing he's still got the magic.
And Tyrod Taylor putting up good numbers, too.
Yeah, I think
Team
Reed
mobile.
is a little aggressive, he can try to flip Tyrod for something. I
agree. There's a lot of people looking for quarterbacks.
I mean, do you
think that
trust
he has an
Tyrod Taylor
opportunity.
though? Do you really trust Tyrod Taylor?
I do. He's consistent. He played well on the Bills, which was our terrible team around him, and he's showing well with
he's got
the
the
Browns.
Saints this week. That's probably an easy 20 points.
Very
Yeah,
possible.
Jets, Oakland. A lot of these teams aren't particularly scary to me. He's got a pretty solid schedule.
Pittsburgh was a good defense, and he put up 23 points. He had 8 rushes for 77 yards and a touchdown. That's why Tyrod Taylor's a good quarterback, because he has a high floor. Even if he's losing, even if he's passing suck and he's throwing interceptions, he's gonna get you 10 points of rushing.
It's also
yards.
notable that was a really rainy game.
That game
not,
was ugly
not
as
something
shit.
that typically does well with quarterbacks, but he still was able to pick it up with his legs. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so if I'm Reed and if I'm other teams in the league who are looking for a quarterback, there might be a couple discussions going on Suez's official trade for him board. I'll tell you that much.
I wonder how Leonard's going to be throughout the season. First
he
round
should
pick,
be,
and he's going to be questionable every week.
They have the NFL has the best painkillers in the world, as I'm sure anyone who saw that Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that was
can
painkiller's so
attest.
good you get a southern accent.
Yeah, he'll as long as it doesn't get any worse, he'll be okay. But yeah, hamstring's not the one you want. Hamstring's usually a lingering injury, but we'll see. They didn't really have to rush him back, I don't think.
I don't
right?
know.
They were-
I also feel like it's a matter of time until Jordan Reed goes down.
Oh, of course. But that's what you get with Reed. You ride him until he breaks.
Moving on to the next matchup, I played Jesse this week in what became a very close game. One note I want to make is that I was very close to starting Chris Carson over Adrian Peterson. Chris Carson was projected to do more. I drafted him earlier, but I did some independent research and I decided that Adrian Peterson was the way to go, and it panned out for me. So if anyone's out there ever questioning whether you should start someone with your gut and your own research versus starting someone with the projections and where you drafted them, start them with your own gut. If you
ever
lose
go
that
for
way,
projections.
if you,
Projections, especially in
yeah, if you-
ESPN, are garbage.
They lie.
if you lose to someone's projection, you have trouble sleeping at night. If you lose because you made a gut call and you were wrong, that's a little bit easier of a pill to swallow.
I agree. Looking at your team, looking potent. I don't know that I would say Adrian Peterson's going to continue to repeat that, but that's still what you want to see. And he's got a few cake matchups in the coming weeks, so you ride him until he breaks.
What are you going to do about your tight ends?
Pray to God. Probably me digging around in free agency. If not, I'm going to give Ricky Seals Jr. another shot. Charles Clay's dead to me.
Just
Never
beg.
existed. I might as well cut you right now. I'm going to cut you during this interview.
He was pretty bad for me last year and the year before. He's only had like 1 or 2 good years, but the other thing here is Stafford, obviously a big disappointment. That was what looked like an easy matchup, and he just got slaughtered. 4 interceptions.
One of the greatest things I saw was that Stafford got slammed, got hurt, went off the field, came back on it instantly, threw another pick.
Vance is trying to mimic my strategy last year of the Eagles' defense combined with Greg Zerline, and so far so good.
Greg
that at least
Greg
gave
the
him some
Leg
points.
is his highest score.
Yeah, Greg the Legs scored last year, I believe, at a rate of wide receiver 2. So, but yeah, he's a huge advantage if he is able to keep that pace going. Now that was Oakland.
And the Rams offense is looking good too.
Oakland has got a
sleep on
terrible
them.
defense, so I think that's going to regress to the mean a little bit. But that being said, yeah, I think if you want a kicker, the Rams are one of the best to own.
Also,
So what do y'all think about that strategy? Vance picked a little bit earlier for his defense and his kicker than other people, so he got a little bit more points out of that, but his depth is looking a little bit shallow.
I mean, TJ Yeldon for when Fournette goes down, and Rex Burkhead is the starter technically.
The Eagles don't have a terrible schedule. There's gonna be a lot of matchups that you just roll with them, especially when they prove themselves against Atlanta. But yeah, I don't know. Defenses, I think, are so matchup based more than just themselves. I think you're still gonna end up wasting a second spot on a streamer defense here and there.
He's gonna need to get a quarterback because if Matt Stafford continues to play like shit and he troll picked Nick Foles, he's gonna be running out of.
I think he'll
options.
bounce back. I think Piggy Boys, we've seen enough of what he is. He'll be solid. I think and he doesn't have too bad of a schedule. At least not until later in the year. I think he'll bounce back. But yeah, if it's week 3 or 4 and he's not doing much better than this, then you might have to seriously consider looking at the waiver wire or a trade.
Moving on to our last matchup of the night. Caveman, welcome back. Starts off the year with a win against Soyez.
Oof. Soyez, oof.
Yeah, you had a rough night.
Christian McCaffrey is going to get vultured a lot, but I mean, I think that was part of the risk of owning him. Besides that, though, I think he's going to be a very safe floor player. He's going to get plenty of touches and high quality touches at that.
You gotta be happy with his touches. He did get 16 touches. You know, he put together some yardage. It was this low-scoring game. Dallas defense showed up, and
Big C also does not have a kicker though. So if Mariota stays questionable, he's sucking on the waiver wire teat this week.
yeah, I think you meant to say quarterback. He also doesn't have a quarterback. His kicker did quite
yeah.
well.
Yeah, Mariota took the elbow injury in a really messy game. Mariota's already a kind of a borderline quarterback in terms of quality, and him being injured, and then who knows what's going on with that offense.
He's got James Conner. He's not going to score 30 next week, but RB1.
It's good trade value. It's interesting trade value, especially for someone who needs to get a couple wins to make it to the playoffs. I think he might hold on to him for a couple weeks and then see if he needs to trade him.
I think Big C probably is going to put in James Conner over
he already
Jordan
has
Howard.
him in.
Yeah, perhaps, and it'd be interesting to see if in the future Big C does become a little bit more reliant on the trade as opposed to years prior where he avoided trading players.
It depends on how bad he starts off, I would say.
I don't see Big C being the one to initiate trades, but I guess there's a new. It's time for everything.
I still say it's week 1. Don't overreact to absolutely everything.
A last note about Soyez, Storm Gordon, much like the storm itself, Hurricane or Tropical Storm Gordon, Josh Gordon didn't really show up. I mean, he did get a touchdown on one catch, but
apparently he wasn't supposed to be in the game.
He wasn't supposed to play.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
is that right?
they said they screwed up and they just let him play. But actually, I do have speaking of storms, there is supposed to be a storm hitting Carolina this week, which they have a home game. So that's a thing to monitor. Anyone who has a Carolina player, make sure that you keep your keep note of that.
Good point. And they're playing Atlanta, if I remember correctly. Are you sure? Is that a home game or an away game?
They're playing at Atlanta. Oh, never mind. But I guess Atlanta's also on the East Coast. Kind of. I guess the storm's just
They're
hitting
playing
the
in a
general
dome.
area.
False news, y'all heard it here first on Billy and the Bird.
No, I read it somewhere. Like it's a Pittsburgh game, or there's another game that's in the past.
I'm not no goddamn meteorologist, okay? I'm a fucking. Do I look like fucking Bob Breck? No.
No, you're not Bob Breck, but you haven't had much of a fantasy performance either. So what are you, man? You got to pick something. You're a loser. That's what you are. You're a goddamn loser.
All right, can we get back real quick? It's back to Caveman, Alvin Kamara with Ingram gone.
Where do you start, man? What a good performance.
Fucking yeah, Kamara, Jesus. And I was nervous. Well, I think you were happy about like how much he produced, but he's not gonna hold up to that kind of workload every week. I feel like.
But I thought I said this earlier. Like 34 is basically the ceiling of the Saints running back core, I would say, and just being part of that, you know that you're gonna get at least half of that every week.
Yeah, ride him till the. I mean, you're not gonna ever bench him. I mean, Kamara's a great pick so far.
I mean, unfortunate for Goodwin to go down early. I think he will be a good player. I think Cave's got a couple things to look forward to on his bench, with Kenny Galladay being a person who will perform for a Detroit team that will often be losing. Also, he had a great performance from his quarterback, Alex Smith. He could be in a similar position as Reed, to where a place where you could talk about trades with some people.
I think Alex Smith has enough. Alex Smith has enough of a history to where people are going to be a little bit hesitant, but he has
I think
Indianapolis and
you're-
Green Bay.
I don't think you understand how desperate some people's QB situations are right now.
Well, to give up enough to, I guess, yeah, maybe it depends on the what they're willing to give up for him. But I think, yeah, I guess that could be the case.
Speaking of demand for quarterbacks, let's jump into the free agency prospects for this week.
Ryan
What
Fitzpatrick, $30.
Okay, so that's my first question. Ryan Fitzpatrick, where do you think? I mean, this doesn't seem like it's an anomaly with the Saints defense. He played lights out. Where is this guy
The
going to get
Saints
drafted?
are 0-2 in like the past 3 or 4 years. So once again, maybe just a week 1 Warrior.
He always goes nuts randomly. He's playing at home against Philadelphia this week. I mean, if you're desperate, you can go worse than Ryan Fitzpatrick, but it's not one that you feel great about.
I don't think it's a mirage. I think it wasn't like Saints were blowing up coverages. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick made some dime throws against the Saints, and he did it consistently on 3rd down and 1s. This dude is going deep in for the end zone, and especially with Tampa Bay's defense, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be a top 10 quarterback this year. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to put down some free agency cash to have him as my backup quarterback, and I won't be alone. Other people will be putting up some money, and I think 30 is a good guess. I think it's probably going to be somewhere between 20 and 40, if I had to guess where the top bid will go. It'll be
See,
in
I feel
range.
that it's all going to be on who needs QBs, because there's a certain, some people here are high rollers who will throw down serious cash to get their player. Some of them are more conservative, so it depends on who needs QBs.
I would say this: it depends on the quality, who needs it, and the quality of QBs on offer. Yes, no one's expecting Joe Flacco to score 21 again, and after I guess Fitz, is there anybody you want?
Darnold, if you're desperate, Darnold's looked pretty good his first outing.
I'm going to say no on Darnold, and some people might disagree with me here, but reason being, the Jets put up how many points did
There
they?
was lots of defensive touchdowns, though. They had
like
5
a bunch of
interceptions and two defensive touchdowns.
Wait, well, let's just look at the fucking waiver wire. Who's second? Oh, look, the Jets defense.
Jets defense. That's what I'm saying. It's they didn't have to do much. Crowell went nuts. He stole a lot of touchdowns, 5 interceptions and 2 defensive touchdowns. I don't think Darnold had to do much. He still looked solid.
How much is the Jets defense going to go for?
I think this was the matchup you wanted to start Sam Darnold in, and he still didn't get you that many points. I just
on the
don't
road,
think the
for his first game ever in the NFL.
Yeah, I
I
want to start a rookie quarterback on the road in his first game ever.
On what was supposed to be a decent defense.
I just think the Jets are going to be more reliant on the run and their defense than they have been in the past with some of their old quarterbacks.
No idea.
Moving on.
Well, we're paid to make observations.
Oh, we're getting paid? Who's paying you?
I thought you were.
Yeah, we've been sponsored by Vaseline for a while. I don't know. They don't really pay us, but we get plenty of free.
You're gonna need that Vaseline.
I'm a lonely boy.
Kyle's been hogging all the. He's been hogging all that Vaseline. He needs it for what Reed did to him this past weekend.
One thing though is I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is probably the marquee, but Will Dissly, and I think a lot of tight ends going down. And, someone who caught a touchdown. People are gonna put money up for him.
Yeah, someone's gonna not see that 3 for 105. They're just gonna see the 105 and 1 touchdown, and go for it.
I mean, how many tight ends that were drafted relatively early and just completely fucked up this week?
Yeah, I think Will Dissly is like last year's Vance McDonald. Like, open up with like one big catch for a long run. Maybe he scored a touchdown, but then he's still like a 4-target tops kind of guy. And in a situation where he's not always going to be getting those like wide open runs, so I think someone will put money down on him. But I don't think it'll be worth.
Because Graham caught a lot of touchdowns last year in Seattle.
There's no one. I think
this guy is slated as a run blocking tight end. So this could be an outlier, but given people's need at tight end, especially after week 1, I think that we're looking at somewhere between a $10 to $15 winning bid for Will Dissly, if I had to guess.
I think you're also going to see lots of maybe small bids on these random desperation tight ends, like your Austin Seferian-Jenkins, your Antonio Gates, your Jake Butts.
Is anyone putting down for the Jets defense? Are we buying the Jets defense? Buy or sell. Jets defense going to finish top 10 defense
0.
this year.
No. But I think in the right matchups, they're worthwhile. Like at home against Miami this week, I wouldn't mind throwing like $2 or $3 down, maybe $5.
Here's here's an
I did
interesting
the same
thought.
thing with the
Week
Rams defense last year. Picked them up after week 1 of a strong performance, and they lasted me all year.
Yep, true. And week 1 of the playoffs, week 14, the Jets are playing against who other than the Buffalo Bills. If that's not a roster baiting worthy pickup, I don't know what it is.
And that's going to be week 14, so that would be what, early December, late November in Buffalo. That's going to be a snowy game, which is typically not very.
A snowstorm against the anemic Buffalo Bills offense. They might be a pick. I think that they're gonna garnish over $5 in the free agency. I think the winning bet will be between $5 and $10 for the Jets defense.
$12.50.
Is there anyone else besides the few players we mentioned that are gonna be like anything over $5?
Let's look at. Well, I mean, running back and wide receiver is always the most sought after players. There's really nothing I'm seeing at running back, except maybe. If you're desperate for a handcuff, something like that. Receiver, there's
Philip Lindsay doesn't excite you.
who's even? Oh, is that the tight end?
The Denver.
Tight end?
He's gonna be the Denver
Oh,
running
Philip
back
Lindsay.
who's gonna be like the Lightning versus Thunder
the
with
third down kind of back.
Freeman.
15
Yeah.
carries though.
True. Yeah, he's fast. If y'all have seen him play in preseason or saw some of his highlights from the game, this guy can move. He's got legs.
Someone might pick up Quincy and Nunwa.
Yeah, I like Quincy Nunwa as a player. Obviously not the great situation having a rookie quarterback, but he's worth. If you have the roster spot, he's worth a couple
I
bucks.
think these wide receivers will go for $5. This little pack of 3 in between the kickers. Dorsett and Nunwa Pettis. They all scored touchdowns. They all got a decent set of targets.
I agree. Yeah.
Except
maybe.
for Pettis, but I mean, doesn't matter. If you want to be part of that Jimmy G offense.
Yeah, I mean, just these little. It's always they always have your 1 week wonders who splash in week 1, and someone will throw a few bucks down